Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Benefits in Focus, our HR Leadership Series. It's good to be in a room full of people that live in the world of benefits, talent, and strategy every day. Thanks. I figured if I start talking, everybody would listen. My name is Katie Reynolds. I am the Employee Benefits Practice Leader at W3, an IMA company. I have the privilege of working with my team. The team is here today. If you want to stand up, we have Mike Hayes, Derek York. We have Josh behind the camera, Connor, Brad, Mark, and JP. I get them confused all the time. Yes. And I enjoy being in a room of HR leaders. Why? I actually come from a background of human resources. I started in human resources, and that's what my undergrad and grad is in. So I like to say, in a sense, I am still working in human resources because I am in benefits. But before we get started, and before I introduce our guest speaker, MJ, I want to introduce Dominic. He is from Sun Life. Sun Life is the sponsor of our event. Thank you very much for sponsoring for the lunch. Dominic, if you want to stand up.
Yep, sure. Hello, everybody. Just wanted to say hello. I don't have a big spiel. I know we're anxious to get right into the presentation. So I've been with Sun Life in this area, Tampa Bay area, and Florida in general for about 14 years. We've got a lot of cool stuff going on. We just had a nice endorsement here by Todd, so thank you for that. But anyway, thanks for having me, and look forward to the presentation.
Thank you. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce MJ. MJ is a dynamic and seasoned HR executive with over 15 years of experience spanning from military to healthcare, hospitality, manufacturing, and finance. MJ earned her MBA from the University of Maryland and bachelor's degree from Rutgers University. Anybody else know where that is besides me? Anybody? Oh my gosh, I am quite impressed. Yes, we must be from the Midwest or the North, right? Yes, that's why. Perfect. She previously served as Vice President of Human Resources at HCA Healthcare Hospital and held leadership roles at Johns Hopkins, Hilton, and Marriott Properties. So with that, I would like to introduce MJ for the next 60 minutes of a lot of fun.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with all of you and chat with all of you and get to know what you do in human resources. And what I like to say about human resources is that it is so hard and no one talks about it, right? No one talks about how difficult it is, all of the decision making that we have to get involved in, and benefits is a really big piece. And I'm really appreciative to the W3 team because having good partners in this space is so important. And I have, as a military spouse, lived in many places. I have worked in so many different environments, nonprofit, for-profit, smaller organizations, big organizations. And when you have an amazing benefits team that supports you, it makes a huge difference. It just makes your life easier. It makes all of the questions and challenges that we face easier. And I'm excited to be here with all of you and share this information. I was telling some of my HR newbies that are here in the audience, this is the information that I wish I had received 16 years ago when I was new in human resources. And I wish that in human resources, more leaders that were just involved in so many of these difficult decisions and so many strategic plans had been more honest with us as newbies in HR and shared with us how difficult some of that can be. So this is a safe space. We're going to go through the worksheet. We're going to ask questions. We're going to meet each other. I hope that at your table you've connected with another HR professional. That is so important. Coming to these networking events and meeting each other and learning from each other and having good people that you can call and say, hey, Susie, we're experiencing this in our team and on, with our staff. What are you doing to engage the employees? How are you handling it? You need that person. That person is going to be like your HR confidant, right? That person is going to be the person you reach out to and you share all of those, secret HR horror stories that we can't share with our own staff, right? Because we're not allowed. So please connect with each other, get each other's contact information, and we're going to dive in, okay? All right, so this is, how many of you are holding a SHRM certification and are here to receive a PDC? Raise your hand. Okay, fantastic. So this is for you. This is your code that you need to receive your continuing education credits. And for those of you that are HR newbies that are not holders of the certification, no worries, that's something you can explore later. But the Society for Human Resources, also known as SHRM, awards continuing education credits to those that hold certifications. So this course is going to give you those credits, and at the top of the page, you have your code that you need to input to receive that credit. And basically what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the math. We're going to talk about what do you bring to the C-suite table, or if you report to someone that is senior to you in human resources, what kind of conversation can you have with them about the math and how things work so that you can articulate in dollars and cents what you really want for your team. If you have that staff member, right, that's gonna leave, and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, they've countered with an offer, or they want this much money, or they need this compensation, or they're asking for that, and you don't know how to bring to the table that conversation in a dollars and cents, in a concrete way, this worksheet is gonna give you that information. So I'm really excited about it. And what you'll leave with is this actionable framework that you can adjust for your organization. If you've never heard someone say the words utilization review, you are going to be able to answer that question by the end of the day. You're going to know what it is, you're going to know how to do it, and you're going to be able to leave here today with the ability to have those discussions with your VP of Finance, with the controller, with the CFO, right? Sometimes those are the most challenging people to work with in our organization because they have a very linear mindset, right? And so you go to them and they speak in what language? Dollars and cents. They speak spreadsheet. What do we speak in human resources? We speak with our hearts. We speak with, oh, this person, they need this and they need that. And that does not always translate to our finance people. So that's a really important piece of what we're going to discuss today. All right, our learning outcomes are here. I am not going to read this slide to you. This is so that we can be SHRM approved. So here are your learning outcomes. And we are also going to do something which is really nice. We're going to send all of you this deck so that if you want to go in and you want to take really great notes, we definitely want you to do that. But because there's a lot of math in this presentation, we don't want you to stress about the math, okay? So don't stress about the math. All of the math that we're going to do will have examples in the slide deck, and so you can refer back to the slide deck. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so before we get into the hidden paycheck, I want to tell you two stories. Story number one is about a woman who, back in 2014, she made approximately $40,000 a year, okay? And she was going to have a baby. Let's call her Susie. And Susie worked for a company, and when she worked for the company, she was a new HR professional. And so there was an assumption on that HR team that, oh, she knows about how benefits work, and she knows that during FML, it's unpaid, right? Because we're in a state where it's unpaid. And $40,000 at that time maybe sounded like a lot of money, but at the end of the day, when you go out on leave and you're not making any money, and the only payment that you're receiving is whatever vacation days you've accrued, which is maybe what, 6 or 7, right? So you're gonna be out for 12 weeks having a baby, and then you're gonna get 6 or 7 days worth of pay. And you have to make ends meet. And that is really tough because guess what? Diapers are expensive, right? And you've had all those years and months of fertility issues and fertility costs and all the things that you think about go into, okay, now we're finally having this baby. So that person went to the benefits department. And when they went to the benefits department made an appointment for her. And she waited days for that appointment. And then when she finally went to that benefits appointment, she didn't have a very good experience. They didn't really explain to her what her options were financially. They didn't really explain to her all the things that were going to go into it. And long story short, she ended up leaving that organization because she had such a bad experience during that time, very important time in her life, where she needed to understand her benefits the most, right? And understand what options she had. Now I'm gonna tell you another story. We're gonna call this person Emily, okay? So Emily, fast forward years later, is working for a company and has a teenager. And the teenager is naughty, as all teenagers are, right? And they don't listen, and they misbehave, and they have emotional outbursts. Okay, so Emily also works in human resources. Someone says to her, hey, have you ever called your EAP? You know that if you call your EAP, they'll give you these sessions. You can use them for your teenager. Your teenager can talk to a therapist. They can feel better. And we did that, right? And so the teenager goes to the therapist, all the things happen, everything is wonderful. And that employee goes on to tell hundreds of other employees about the EAP and about the positive experience they had. And guess what? There was alignment there between what that organization said was their mission, which was to lift people up and to really care about their employees, and then all of the people that that employee told about EAP also called EAP. And so they had all of these great outcomes, right? And it increases retention. When your employees are happy, their teenagers are misbehaving less, right? They come to work a little less stressed, right? They come to work with a little lighter, feeling in their shoes. And so because of that, they had a very good and positive experience. Now I ask you, which employee do you want working for you? Do you want the first one? Do you want the Susie working for you that's had the very negative experience, leaves the organization, goes on to tell people, oh, I didn't feel cared for or appreciated during a very difficult time in my life? Or Emily, the second employee, that had a much more positive experience because they were able to utilize an EAP benefit? Which one? The second. Okay, so truth. You want the truth now? Both stories are about me. Those are my stories, real experiences, okay? And it's important that you know that because it's true, it really affects people, right? So on the back of your paper right now, I just want you to flip it over before we do some math. I want you to write down, if you know your organization's mission statement, or if your organization is one that really focuses more on finance and on production, that's okay. What is your personal mission statement? When you think about your employees and when you think about what you want to give to them, when they say, oh, I really appreciate that Caitlin, she does this for me. I really appreciate that Katie does this for me. What do you want your employees to say about you? What is that personal mission statement for you as that HR professional? Write that down on the back of the page. Okay, those of you that are done writing, tell me your name again, Lori?
Lori.
Okay, Lori, what you got?
I said provide high-level professional customer service to employees expeditiously.
I love that. That is so good. Let's give Lori a round of applause. That's fantastic. Very good. I like that you have the word expeditiously in there because doing things in a timely fashion, very important, right? What was the detail from the first story? That not only did I have the benefits appointment, but I had to wait a long time for the benefits appointment, right? Okay, someone else on this table. Who's done writing over here? Carrie, you got something? No? Do you want to go? No. No? Okay. Oh, go for it.
I just said, me personally, I aim to provide heartfelt help to provide assistance to show the employee their value.
Heartfelt help to help say that.
To show the employee that they're valued.
To show the employee that they're valued. Very good. Let's give Kelly a round of applause. I love that. I love that. Someone else over here. What about you? What'd you write down?
I don't know anything.
No? Okay. Someone over here?
I just put the main things are to support and educate
Ooh.
and to mentor. And I can't stand having an unread message and not responding with like almost instantaneous.
Yeah.
Which is my own problem, but I try to have that response out so that people know, like you said, like at least within 12 to 24 hours. So that they know that you've heard them and that you're doing something.
Yes.
Instead of just being in this, I haven't heard anything, haven't heard anything.
Right, right. So even if you don't have the answer right away, you're going to reach out and you're going to be responsive about the time frame for when they can expect a response or an answer to their question. I love that. Joan? Joanne. Very good. Let's give Joanne a round of applause. I love that. I love that. So for most of us in human resources, we want to support our employees. We want our employees to feel heard, valued. We want to do things in an expeditious way. And it's really important that at a fundamental level, we understand every single employee's compensation and how their compensation works so that when we go to the table, we can advocate for them. And so what we lack sometimes in human resources in our desires to be very heart forward is some of that financial understanding and ability to articulate to the team, what does that mean in dollars and cents? If I have Bob and Bob is going to leave the organization and Bob gets paid X, then now that Bob is renegotiating for more money, how do I justify that, right? How do I figure that part out and how do I articulate that to the team? So that is why it is such a fundamental level that we understand the finances so that there can be alignment with whatever you wrote down on your page. Because what you wrote down on your page is the outcome that you want, but you have to learn those skills and put them in place in order to make that happen. Does that make sense? Everybody with me? Okay, perfect. So we're gonna do the first example. And the first example is understanding the paycheck. So I chose 75K, okay, as just kind of like a generic salary. And for starters, you can write down on the back of your page, what is a position that may be open right now, or what is a position that you hire for frequently, and what is that number? Is it around 75K? Is it a little higher, a little lower? You can write that number down, and you can kind of do your own version of the math, or you can do this version with me up here with 75K. And what I want you to understand, I'm gonna stand on this side of it so that I'm not blocking that table. What I want you to understand here is that in addition to the 75K, right, when we talk about compensation, there is a whole other hidden cost. And one of the largest line items on that hidden cost is all of these benefits, right? And all of these benefits add up to a much larger number. So when you have those discussions with your finance team, with your CFO, with your VP of finance, you have to be able to talk about this number, not this number. Why is that? Who knows? Why do you have to talk about this number, not this number? And I don't want my W3 people to answer. I want my HR people to answer. Why? It's the actual cost, right? And in most organizations, except for a select few, right? Most organizations, what is the largest line item on a budget for an entire organization? Compensation, the total compensation. So when you have, and I hope you never experience this, but if you have a CEO or a CFO or someone in your C-suite team or the owner of your company go, oh, you just do HR. And they wave their hand that way, that dismissive way that sometimes our C-suite members will wave them at us. You manage the largest line item on the budget for the whole organization. If you didn't know that, or if you needed that reminder, write it down. It's a really important reminder. You are so important to the overall success of the organization because you manage the biggest budget of money, guys, right? So I never want you or anyone to say, oh, you just do HR. That is the wrong way to look at human resources. These numbers are big. And these lines here, these are all of the decisions that make up who is going to join your organization. Because some people really care about PTO. Gen Z, by the way, really cares about PTO, okay? If you don't have a good PTO policy in place, it's time to get one. We can talk after. all right? Your disability benefits, your vision, your 401k, whether or not you have, this kind of network or that kind of network or paid time off for people or an EAP. Who knows what an EAP is? We just use the acronym EAP. Do all my HR people know what it is? Okay, those of you raising your hand, I'll let the ambassador tell us. Go ahead, Kelly. Tell us what an EAP is.
Well, it's Employee Assistance Program.
Yes.
We actually call ours the Life Assistance Program.
Oh, I love that. You guys have such good words to describe things. I love this. Okay. And?
Well, it's a third party that we use. And it's full of resources for any, we say, if life throws you a curveball.
Ah.
And it helps you manage that curveball.
Yes.
Whether it's just emotional, like your teenager.
Yep.
Grief, elder care, financial.
Yes.
It's such a wide resource.
Yes.
It truly is.
Yes. Very good, very good. I love the explanation. And I love that you guys call it, instead of EAP, you call it life assistance. I love that. Okay, I'm stealing it. So all of these things make up this bigger number, okay? And the first lesson today is that the number you have in your head of how much you're paying your employees is wrong. The number that you have to think about is the total compensation number. And when you go to the table, that's lesson number one. That's lesson number one, because a lot of times we go, oh, well, this person makes blah, and this person makes this, or this person's compensation is that, but we're not talking about the bigger number. We're not understanding that there's more to it. Okay, let's talk about some of the stats here. Did you know that basically 50% of your staff right now is looking for another job? Does everyone know that? Is that common knowledge, that basically 50% of your staff at all times? Why is that? Why is there such an influx of people looking for different opportunities?
Different reasons, one being pay.
Yes.
The second is because we were talking about younger generations, they want to experience more careers in life.
Yes. No longer are the days when people are going to stay in an organization for 20, 30, 40 years and get their lifer coat. That's not happening anymore. Who else raised their hand over here?
I was just going to say they're not satisfied.
Yeah, a lack of satisfaction overall. Anything specific that comes to mind?
Salary,
Mm-hmm.
promotions, like it's,
Yeah.
everybody wants to be promoted every 6 months, it's the whole thing.
Yes, absolutely. What were you going to say?
Unresolved management issues.
Unresolved management issues. Ooh, that's another training. We'll call that one our HR therapy time, okay? But we have many things happening at once. First of all, we have social media showing everybody at all times the best parts of everybody's life. So everybody wants more money, everybody wants better careers, more opportunities. So we have to recognize that and understand that, and we have to be more creative when it comes to the kinds of benefits that we're going to include in our offerings to our employees, because we have such variability, right? We have people in our workforce that are very much focused on saving and investing, so you better have a good healthcare plan, and you better have a good match, and you better have all of that in place, because those are some of the fundamentals. But then you have to think about all of these other things. Generationally, there's more of a focus now on mental health and supporting mental health, financial education. All of that stuff comes with a really good EAP program. So if we have programs, and I want you to really think about this, if you have programs and benefits right now that you offer your employees that you don't understand, I promise you, your employees don't understand them either. So that's some of the homework, right? We have to really take responsibility for understanding the benefits we have, and then being able to share with those employees, hey, life threw you a curveball. This is what you need. We're going to get you X, right? And be proactive with those offerings. Hey, I noticed that you want a promotion, and I noticed that, the position that you're interested in has a bachelor's requirement. And since you don't have a bachelor's, here's our tuition reimbursement program. Here's how it works. Here are the clawbacks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we want to have those conversations with people, because that creates that engagement, right? How many of you have been a part of an organization or currently are with an organization that offers a tuition reimbursement program? Yay! It is a phenomenal benefit, right? Who has a success story about tuition reimbursement? Anyone? Anyone a user of tuition reimbursement? Yeah, Cindy, go ahead.
Ours is not reimbursement, we call it tuition assistance.
Okay.
Because when you have reimbursement, you assume the employee has money to pay for it upfront. When chances are they don't.
Yeah, yeah.
So we pay for it upfront, and it's been very successful for us.
Good, 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 good. Anyone else? Did you raise your hand? Tuition reimbursement? Oh, okay. Okay, so these are all very important things to think about. Also, this is one that I want to focus on. No one asked or acted, okay? I cannot tell you how many people, I go to a lot of networking events, guys, okay? Cannot tell you how many people I meet at a networking event that are leaving an organization or recently left an organization, and when you ask them for their story, it's this: well, no one asked. Well, no one offered me. Well, no one had a conversation with me. So we are that person, we are that ambassador, right, to all of our employees. And if we notice that there's an unfinished business in the management world, somebody's getting antsy, somebody's getting upset, we have to engage. So those are our responsibilities, and a lot of this is in our control. And this number here is with a T. This is trillions of dollars that we are losing out on in the US because of annual voluntary turnover. And so it happens, and it's unnecessary. There are ways to engage our employees through benefits and through our own practice of speaking to someone and putting the humanity back in human resources. Here's what I want you to be leery of. If you have a 1-800 number for something, and you say to your employees, oh, well, you need EAP, or oh, you need to talk to the dental people. Here's the 1-800 number, and that's all you give them. That's not really being the best HR practitioner. We want to give them an experience. We want to give them that warm send-off to whatever benefit they need, and give them that personal touch, that personal story. Hey, when I used it, this is what I experienced. Or hey, this is how I think it could help you. And we want to share that with them. We don't just want to say, here's the 1-800 number for that, get out of my office. That is not the HR professional that I think any of us really want to be, nor is that the kind of HR professional that we want to experience, right? That is not the customer service, and that is not the warmth that is going to engage and retain high talent in your organization. Okay, a few more things. 78% would seek a new job due to inadequate health insurance. These are all the current stats, okay? 40% of employers believe workers leave specifically to find better benefits. This is also true very much generationally, okay? I just recently joined a Millennials and Gen Z caffeine and co-working group, okay? Everybody in there is actually Gen Z, and I'm like the old lady in the group. And so most of them, when they talk to each other, they're talking about what they're going to do during their time off. They are not like us millennials that have worked ourselves to the nubs, okay? Trying to receive the light and the appreciation of our leaders. So we can learn from that. We have to understand that they live first and they work second. It is very much a difference generationally in the workforce. So we have people that want to work for companies that have a good corporate social responsibility, that have good values, that have a company that has alignment, there's that word again, write it down, alignment between the mission and how they actually treat employees. If you have a website that says, oh, we care about our employees, oh, we do this and we do that, and then you don't actually do it in HR, out of alignment, okay? All right, last one, 20 to 30% lower turnover at companies with comprehensive benefits, okay? All right, we're gonna dive into our worksheet now. We're gonna talk about how do we calculate this. So this is the first part of your worksheet. And again, we went with this kind of generic compensation number, but I want you to feel free. I want you to flip over your cell phones. I never say this in training, but in today's, you can flip over your cell phone, open up your calculator, okay? And I want you to write down the position that is turning over most frequently. Write the name of the position that's turning over most frequently, so you've got that written down, and what that compensation number is, okay? And I want you to go through, and we're going to do this math together, so that you can actually calculate. This is a real life worksheet for you. Which position did you write down?
Pest control professional.
Pest control professional. Okay. What are they what is their salary a little higher, a little lower than 75?
It depends.
Depends.
They want it to be higher.
We all want it to be higher, okay?
Let's just say 6 for ease and math, 60.
60, okay, okay. So you guys are working on that. What about over here? What position did you write down?
Case manager.
Case manager. Okay, inpatient?
No, it's out in the field, community-based.
Oh, community-based. Okay, okay. And what do they make?
45.
45. Okay. What about over here? What are we writing down? What position?
Project manager,
Project manager. Okay.
120.
120. All right. Okay. What about over here? What position are we working on? What's your most frequently turned over position? RN. Oh yeah. I am intimately familiar with that. Yes. 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 How about for you guys? Where are your RNs landing?
Well, I took an average of 83 too.
83. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, so let's go down the list. Let's put in our numbers. So there are a couple of categories here that I want to make sure we're all understanding. Vacancy coverage is that time when your position is open and you're having to fill it, like in the case with the RN, you're having to fill it with temporary staff. And we're calculating in the productivity loss. The next one is that cost of recruiting and hiring. Your recruitment and hiring costs can be very high if you're having to outsource, right? If you're using a recruitment firm that's going to charge you 10, 15% of the salary of the person that they're recruiting for, that is an astronomical number, depending on how often you're using that kind of a recruitment service. Or if you have an in-house recruitment, then you can choose a little bit lower on the scale, okay? Because if you have an in-house recruiter, then you're paying someone probably within your talent acquisition team or within your recruitment department or your HR department. And then the onboarding and training is 10 to 15% of this salary. And again, I would say if this is a highly skilled position, I want you to select higher towards that 15% mark, like a project manager. That's going to be closer to a 15% mark because it's a more skilled position. If you have someone that's more junior level to your organization, you can select a little bit lower on the range, that 10% side. How is the math going? I feel like a teacher right now. Like, good job. So when you get to the end of it, I want to know what your total number is. And this is the example for 75K, but if you chose a position that's a little higher, like the project manager or the RN, I'm interested to know what your total replacement cost is going to be. Can I lean?
Sure, let's just say 70, so it's 50% of it.
Very good. Ooh, that's steep.
Yeah.
Let's see.
What's her name?
So how are these numbers looking? Not good. Okay, why are they not looking good?
It's more than half of the position itself and some.
More than half of the position itself in some cases. How many of you realized how high that number was? How many of you have done this kind of exercise before? Raise your hand if you've been in human resources and done an exercise like this where you have calculated. Tell us about it, Laurie.
I mean, every time people, the managers or CFOs, like you said before, don't realize the cost of the turnover.
Yes.
But if we can give them real examples of what that's really looking like,
Yes.
it would help. I've tried to say this recently, we were able to up our bottom level salary, which is the bulk of our employees. We're only at $16.48. I'm like, nobody can live off this. We need to be closer to 18, 19 at least.
At least.
Minimum.
Right.
And so we finally were able to get an increase for our more line level staff.
Yes.
But without it, they won't really budge.
Yes.
They're used to paying these lower salaries. Sometimes, I mean, most all of us at this table are in the nonprofit world. So.
Yes, yes. This is music to my ears. You are 100% right. These numbers are so much higher than we anticipate. And in some cases, I looked at some of your numbers. Some of your numbers are you're probably lowballing yourself, right? Like you don't realize, oh, well, this position is actually going to be vacant for much longer. Or, oh, you know what, to get this position filled, we're gonna have to engage with a national recruitment firm. Well, a national recruitment firm is going to have a much higher cost than a local recruitment firm that has a local availability of a workforce, right? So we have all of these different variability based on position, but I promise you when you go and have that conversation with your C-suite, or if you're in a junior level position in HR and you're going to have this conversation with someone in the HR department, you can do this exercise and it'll bring so much light to what that total replacement cost is. And you can change this based on things that impact your industry, right? In nursing, you have a very different segment of the workforce than maybe you do in pest control. And the availability of nurses versus someone in pest control is going to be very different, right? So all of these things matter, but this is just your starting framework. This is just the beginning of what you can do from a mathematical standpoint to come to the table with some hard numbers. Does that make sense? Okay, anyone else have any observations about the number that they landed on? Yeah?
Maybe not so much the last number, but item number 5, the loss of productivity number,
Yes.
to me was the most impactful, especially when you're talking about maybe accommodating an employee that needs to move out of state, right? Or maybe it's not an FMLA event, but they could really use some extra time to get where they need to be. The trade-off on hiring somebody else rather than waiting for that employee to come up or resettle their life, whatever's going on, that's a huge number.
Huge number, huge number. And think about this, how many of you have been working in environments recently where maybe your organization said, well, for tax purposes, we can't have someone move to this or this or this state. We only operate in these states. Well, you could bring this number to the table and say, well, hang on a second. How much is it going to cost us to do the taxes in that state versus replacing all of these people, right? So this gives you so much power, and that's what we need in the HR world. We need that power. We need to be able to articulate all of these financial decisions that the C-suite is making with or without us, right? Okay, fantastic job. Let's talk about a few more things. The cost of vacancy. So I remember vividly in 2012, I had a pivot table. Do you guys know what a pivot table is? Oh my God, I had a pivot table, okay? And I had a YouTube video that one of my HR managers made for me of how to calculate the cost of vacancy for nursing. It was a hospital, of course, because I've done over 10 years in hospitals. How to calculate the cost of the vacancy for nursing because it's such a critical shortage. And as we all know in healthcare, when those beds are filled with patients, you have to take care of the patients. So you have to get people in, so you have to offer all of this additional compensation, you have to offer additional benefits of extra time off, extra this, extra that to get people to cover the shifts. Okay, so we're gonna do the cost of vacancy. I want you to again think about this position, and I want you to again, you're going to divide this salary, sorry, am I blocking it for you? You're going to divide this salary by the number of working days. You're going to divide it by 260, so you can use your phone calculator, and then you are going to take that number, that's going to be the cost per day. And this is the part that's going to blow your mind. The number of days after that the position is vacant, that's the cost of your vacancy rate. Has anyone ever calculated that? Does anyone have like a fun dashboard that their PEO gives you that has this information on it? Anybody have that? Anyone have any of those bells and whistles? Okay, so when you do this manually, when you think about this position that's open right now, what number are we coming up with? $320 a day. How long has the position been open for?
It's kind of rotating, so
It's rotating. It's always an open position. Okay, so $320 a day times 365. There's your answer. What is that? What is the math on that? $116,000 is that vacancy cost. That's an incredible number. What about the rest of you? What about are you doing the project management?
Yeah, I mean, it's always an open position, but I did the 45 days
just for giggles?
Yeah, so it's 20,000.
So we can pretend like it's not that bad. And what's the number?
20,770.
It's still so much money. Still so. What about at Habitat?
So construction crew leader, we pay it about $50,000. We usually, it's about a 3-weekish before we get somebody in there, so it's still $4 grand.
$4 grand. Okay, manageable, but still.
Manageable, but we do have it frequently
throughout the year.
Yeah.
Okay. And now think about this. If this is a position that you have multiple of, if you have multiple vacancies, now you're going to multiply this by the number of vacancies that you have. That number is going to skyrocket. What'd you come up with?
I came up with 15,576 because we have about 90 days between case managers.
90 days.
And it's always rotating.
Always
we always
rotating.
have case managers open in different locations.
So let's take a step back from this now. If you have a good program that you're offering to potential employees, right, and you can reduce, even by just one position, someone that unnecessarily goes out the door, now you can say to your C-suite, this is how much money I saved. Right? Now you come to the conversation with a number. This is how much money I saved. Or if you're able to offer a really great benefits package and attract top talent and the position is vacant for less time, now you have a number. You can say, this is how much money I saved. And you know what? That is music to everybody in finance's ears, okay? So that's what we want to come to that conversation with. Not only this is how much something costs, but when you make a good decision that impacts the team's retention, when you make a good decision that impacts the team's ability to lose less talent more frequently, now you have the number to say, this is how much we saved. Now with what we've saved, we can get an EAP program, we can get a tuition assistance program, we can get all of these other things, right? So the ends will justify the means when you start speaking the language. Make sense? Everyone with me so far? Okay, let's do the last one. So this is your vacancy rate, okay? I want you to take your number of positions that are open, all right? And this is on your worksheet. This is on the right-hand bottom corner of your worksheet. So the number of positions that are open, and you're gonna take the filled and open positions, you're gonna multiply this by 100. This is going to equal your vacancy rate. So in positions or in organizations where you have lots of the same positions like nursing, this makes a lot of sense because you have not just one nursing position, you have 15 nursing positions open in a one department sometimes. So this is really helpful numerically when you have multiple of a position in a department. You should be able to, here's what I want you to write down. Track and trend. Track and trend over time how this number is going up and going down in your organization. This is part of being a strong HR professional, being able to take this number, track and trend over time, whether it's going up or whether it's going down. So then you can go to your team on a monthly basis and say, okay, this was our vacancy rate last month. This is our vacancy rate this month. This is our vacancy rate projection. This is what it's been all year. And it's going up and it's going down. Does that make sense? Okay. So these key concepts, did you need me to go back? Okay. And we're going to send this to you guys too. So you're going to get all of the deck, all of the math. And don't stress about the math. If the math is not making sense to you right now, come and talk to me after. I'm happy to go through it more specifically for your position. But these key concepts in terms of total rewards, right? We throw these phrases around in HR, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. My first 6 years in HR, I couldn't answer what all of these things were. It takes a long time to put all of the pieces together. What is total rewards? What is a utilization review? Am I sitting down with someone and being intentional about what we offer? And what do the people that we serve really need? What do the people that we serve really want out of their organization? Are we working really hard to get them this kind of a benefit when at the end of the day, that's not going to attract the kind of talent that we need or want? Or are we really having conversations with, like, is your organization engaged in surveys, right? Where you talk to the employees and you say, hey, what kind of benefits do you guys want? What kind of benefits do you need? That's a way that you can get the information to have a more robust utilization conversation. Does that make sense? And I really want to highlight this. You are a strategic partner in your organization. If you don't know that, or if you haven't been reminded of it recently, write it down. Strategic means that you are a key decision maker. Strategic means that you are making informed decisions with data. Write that down, right? We're making informed decisions with data. We're not going, well, I feel like we're having a lot of turnover in this department. When you start the sentence at the C-suite table or at the senior team table with, I feel like, everything after that is your opinion. If instead you say, I ran the numbers, our vacancy rate is X, our total cost of turnover is Y. I tracked and I trended the data, and in the past 3 months, we have lost X number of dollars. Everyone's gonna go, this is an HR professional that knows what they are talking about, okay? And that is how you become the strategic partner. That's what we want. We want that seat at the table. We want to make those decisions with informed information, with data, all of it. That's how you become the strategic partner, right? That's the bucket that you want to be in the HR world. Okay, so I've talked enough. I see that Katie is up. One last slide about utilization review, and I want to really take a second with this one, because one of the conversations that I never had in human resources until very much later in my career was, well, what benefits are we using and how much is that costing us? For example, I've worked in organizations that have amazing EAP programs with a very low utilization, and we were paying per employee a significant amount of money. So where's the disconnect there? That's something that we as the HR team need to do the lunch and learn for, post the flyers, right? Talk about it in the newsletter, have the CEO talk about it, whatever. You have to get the word out there. And so this analyzing of the employee benefit usage, whatever benefit you're really passionate about, or whatever benefit your employees are gonna come and request. Like, I worked for an organization that said that they wanted fertility benefits. And it was gonna cost us so much money. And so we were like, okay, well, we have to go in, it was like a thing, everybody wanted it, everyone wanted it. So we went in, we did a utilization review. It was only going to impact like 0.0001% of the employees. So we weren't going to make the impact, right, by paying all of that money on the greater employee population. And that's how we have to be strategically thinking through benefits and utilization. And when you think about your claims and enrollment and all of that, I want you to have an eye for it, right? If you see that in your team, people are coming and they're asking questions about, oh, you know, I've had this issue, I've had that issue, then those are the kinds of things you want to bring to your benefits people so that they can come up with the solutions for it, right? There's a solution to every problem. I say that to my kids every day, okay? It really is. And they can bring those solutions to you. If these are the trends that you're seeing with your employee population, talk about that with your benefits advisors, with your benefits brokers, so that they can then give you those solutions. And then you can kind of compare more apples to apples. Does that make sense? All right. So I am going to hand it over to Katie. She is going to get into more of the nitty-gritty of how benefits works, but I just wanted to thank you all so much for allowing me to chat with you about my experience in the HR world, and my contact information is on the bottom of the sheet that you're working on the worksheet, and I just appreciate your time and attention so far. Without further ado, Katie.
Thanks, MJ. So this next part this is your homework, right? Remember when I said in the beginning, you're gonna have some homework? This is part of the homework, and it's really bringing everything MJ has talked about today, from what benefits do you have, looking at all the different generations that's in your population and what they value. How are your current benefits being utilized today? It's taking all of that, including the turnover, from a dollar perspective and bringing that to your leadership. On the back of your worksheet, if you just want to flip it over, I want you to think about the benefits that you have, and we're going to put them in 4 different categories. So 1, I want you to think about your benefits. I don't want to, hopefully. There we go. And this is just off, just thinking, right? Because we don't know what the utilization is yet, because we haven't done the research, right? We haven't looked into it, but at this point, based on your best guess, we want to protect and promote our high value, high use benefits. Those are usually our medical insurance, 401k, PTO. What do you think yours are? Then below that is number 2, activate, high value. They really value these benefits, but there's low use. Maybe there's a communication gap. A lot of times this is where we'll see EAPs, HSA contributions, telemedicine, virtual care. Three, eliminate or replace. These are your low value and your low use benefits. What does that equal? Wasted money. We're spending money on benefits that our employees don't value and they're not even using. Sometimes these are gym benefits, voluntary benefits. So if you think about, accident, critical illness, just think of some of those. And finally, number 4, what do you think your low value, high use are? These are the ones you want to optimize. And the reason this is homework is because this is just a discussion today, right? The homework is going back to work, getting with your HR team, whether it's in connecting with your broker as well, and doing whether it's a survey or looking at the actual utilization of these certain categories. Based on a exercise that I did with one of my clients on this, what that allowed us to do, and Derek and I are going there tomorrow, is we're doing a lunch and learn. Because what we're doing, we're not taking benefits away, we're just moving them. And where are we moving them to? Next slide. it goes into what does our workforce look like? I mean, you know, MJ talked about this earlier. Depending on where you are in your career and your age and what generation you fall in, that's the benefits that's going to align with them. And so it's looking at your demographics, early career, ages 22 to 32, you know, top priorities. We talked about student loan assistance, mental health, EAP. Why do you think short-term disability is in there?
Having families.
There we go. Yep, you got it. You got it, exactly. Growing families, 30 to 45 years old. Again, no surprise we see dependent care in there, life insurance. And then we go through mid-career professionals and pre-retirees. They all want different things. They value different items. Here's what I want you to do. When you get back to your office, and whatever system you have, pull your census data this week and map your workforce to these segments. From there, so you'll have, I'm just going to go easy, 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%, right? That's easy. And then correlate that to the 4 quadrants. What's important to them? Because if you're having benefits in there that don't align with, let's say, 80% of your population, well, let's take some of that money that we're spending that obviously is being wasted, and let's move that somewhere else. Final slide. So this is using the alignment matrix to drive strategic reallocation conversations. Reallocation. So make the case for the reallocation. So why are we looking at benefits in the 4 quadrants? Because we're spending X on benefits with less than 20% utilization, or whatever that utilization may be. If we can reallocate that to a higher value benefit, we could reduce turnover by X. We already talked about the cost and how expensive it is for turnover. I was literally just at a 1.5-day conference, and this was one of the conversation, was having HR bring the data to the executives from how much it truly cost for turnover, and then tying that back to benefits as well. So based on our cost of X per departure, we actually saved Y annually. MJ told you guys that, right? You guys know how to calculate that now. So show the cost per employee impact. Our benefits cost per employee is $500. Industry benchmark, this is key. Make sure you are benchmarking not only your benefits, but the cost of those benefits for similar industries or similar sized companies. If you haven't done that, do it. We do that for our clients all the time. By optimizing quadrant 4, we can stay competitive while improving ROI. Connect business goals. So we need to reduce vacancy rate from 10% to 5%, right? Whatever your goal is. Again, this all ties back to benefits. Benefits in quadrant 1 directly support retention. So this is why it's so important to categorize all your different benefits in those categories. And remember when I said you're not losing benefits, you're just moving them, shifting them to what's important to the makeup that you have today with your workforce. Will that change in a few years? Absolutely. Activating quadrant 2 benefits costs nothing but drives engagement. Wow. Doesn't cost anything, but it drives engagement, and they're happy. Hot dog. And then last slide, frame the ask, right? How do we ask leadership for this? I'm recommending we cut X dollars from quadrant 3. Why? They don't like it. Why are we paying for it? I think, MJ, you said, we're paying, X amount for EAP and no one's using it. Okay? Well, are they not using it because we haven't taught them? Or we haven't communicated it? Or they just don't value it? Right? So if we look at our demographics, we can be like, yeah, they don't value EAP. So why are we paying for it? Now, if we get a different demographic in, maybe we can start introducing EAP. Reinvest money, we talked about that. An expected outcome, the percent of improvement for retention, engagement, productivity. That's what we're all about, right? Retention, engagement, productivity. And that's really bringing everything that MJ had to say for your homework assignment. And with that, I'll hand it over to MJ to close out here the next few minutes.
These are just the SHRM competencies. So for those of you that are holders of the certificate, you know that there has to be alignment in terms of the competencies, and you're getting one PDC for this class. We're available afterwards for you to come and ask questions. We would actually really love that. So in closing, I think it's just really important to drive home two things. One is that your strategic alignment in the organization is paramount. Never forget that you manage the largest budget item for your organization. It's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. And I know that a lot of us are in the room today and we didn't plan on being HR professionals. In fact, a lot of us, it's just circumstance or happenstance that we ended up here. I think that for many of us, we were not on a journey to become the narc of the organization and to be despised by staff at times and sometimes loathed by our senior teams, but here we are. So we're gonna make the best of it, okay? We're going to get super educated. We're going to come with the numbers. We're going to have these actual hard data facts. We're gonna track and trend, and we're gonna make good decisions and do all of our homework and pull all of the information on your census so that you can get cracking on this. But thank you all so much for your time and attention. We've really had a blast, so thank you.
Thank you, MJ, and I want to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy day to come here and join us for our workshop today. And I have one question to kind of wrap everything up with is, how many of us think that we're helpful people? Helpful people. Good, everyone in the room. So, help us continue to make these workshops even better than they are today. In the folder is a survey. If you wouldn't mind completing the survey, and then as you're headed out, if you wouldn't mind dropping that off on the table as you exit, that would be wonderful. And again, thank you for joining us for our Q1 HR Insight series. We will have a Q2 here in a few months. Thank you.